even all those women in Asia, like the more Indian countries, when they're all wearing their full gear going on, just showing their eyes. Even they're not wearing socks in the pool. Even they're taking their damn socks off,
Yeah.
We're gonna take it up a few notches right now. See if y'all can keep up.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 29 of the ScruffCast. I'm Jon.
And I'm Dan.
Listeners, we kick off every episode with the question to ponder. At the end of every episode, we give you a question to ponder. Then at the beginning of the next episode, we give our answers, and we read any answers the listeners might have emailed us at scruffcast@gmail.com. So, hot off the press, the question to ponder from last week. If you could go back in time with full knowledge of one thing or field, what knowledge would it be, and what time would you go back to? Dan, your answer.
Are you ready? You might like this. This is right up your alley.
All right, let's see.
So I would go back to like mid-90s.
Okay.
And my knowledge would be, I don't even really know what the exact field would be, but like computers, like computer science or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I would use that to create Google before they could.
See, that's a great pick. I was thinking the same thing.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I
Almost.
would use that to...
Yeah.
I think that... So, yeah. Like the dot-com boom,
See, that's what I thought. Like, my answer was going to be, I go to the late 90s with, like computing knowledge, and then just to make one of these quick, like, flash-in-the-pan companies, profit off the dot-com boom, and then, boop, it's gone. So I don't even have to have the hassle of running Google for all these years.
That's true, yeah.
But...
Like, when was Google created? 99?
Yes, or 98, I think.
Yeah, so I'd go, mid-90s. I'd give myself a few years to, get it together, but
yeah,
that's all it would take.
That's a good pick. That was going to be my pick.
Really, eh?
Or I thought maybe a little earlier than that, like in the late 80s.
Okay.
Because there was like, I don't know, a lot of cool companies kicking up around then. Like Apple started in the late 70s, early 80s.
Right.
So,
we should probably talk about these ideas first before we talk. Like, we haven't run into the same one yet.
No,
but
well, we kind of just did.
We almost did right there. Or do you already have something that's like similar?
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, that's what you were going to say?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Unless... Yeah, I don't know. That might be it. Unless I can come up with another one on the fly. Because, like, there's a lot of possibilities. Like, another thing I thought, like, what if you go back into the medieval times and you could bring, like, all the knowledge of, like, being a swordsman? Right?
You know what's funny? I also thought
really?
of that. Or, like, a blacksmith or something like that.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You can make wicked swords. Like, I always thought about that, too. Or, you know what? I'll change up. I'll go, like, back, like, the 1920s.
Yeah.
And I would just be really good at robbing banks and just being, like, a gangster.
That's a cool one.
Yeah. Like, wearing the suit and the top hat and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe
Nothing wrong with that. But we also have to travel back to last week because we got a listener email from a listener who's stuck in the past.
A little late to the party.
So, a listener wrote into us about the question to ponder from last week's episode. Now, to be fair,
want to remind them what the...
Yes. Now, to be fair...
Because even I've forgotten what it was.
We always tell the listeners, email us, scruffcast@gmail.com with your answers to the question to ponder. We never say, for this week's question only.
That's true.
So, a listener wrote into us. Subject, question to ponder. Hi, ScruffCast.
Wait, hold on. Do you want to remind them what the question to ponder was from last week?
Yeah, I thought the listener wrote it in the email, but they didn't. So the question to ponder was, if your country ceased to exist for whatever reason, what country would you move to and why?
Oh, right. Okay.
So this listener wrote in to us...
Answering that question.
Just this past week, answering the previous question. But they wrote in, so we're going to read it out for them. Mm-hmm. Hi, ScruffCast. Big fan. Great work on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for not screaming the episode number as well. Much appreciated. Well, last week we whispered it, but this week we spiced it up a little. And the listener goes on to give their answer. I think if Canada didn't exist, I'd probably live in Argentina or Panama and open a cafe serving some badass coffee. That's it. Just a nice short little answer.
I like that one.
That's a good
That's
pick.
a good idea, actually.
Because I've often thought, like, kind of be cool to live in a hut on the beach.
Yeah, like the whole idea of just like selling coconuts on a beach or something like
Yeah,
that.
but selling coffee, it's a little better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do like that idea a lot.
All right.
I like it.
Well, that's enough pondering of questions for this week. But stay tuned for the end of this episode, because that sounded like very like out of a commercial from like early 90s TV. Stay tuned for the end of this episode.
Like that show, Uh-Oh?
Yeah. So at the end of the episode, we'll have our question to ponder for next week.
And it's a doozy.
It's a doozy. So draft your tweets at ScruffCast. Send us tweets. Okay, so the first article this week comes to us from kptv.com, and it takes place in Canada. I'll just read you the headline. Burglar stuck in Vancouver escape room panics, calls 911.
Okay. So right from the title, we can kind of break this down a little bit.
Yeah.
Guy breaks into an escape room, which, if those who don't know what an escape room is, I guess they're like a kind of new thing, so maybe some people don't know.
Yeah.
So they're just like, it's like, imagine going to like, you go mini putting, you go to Laser Quest. It's like that, but there are these rooms that you go into, you're locked in, you have to find like clues in order to escape. You have like a time limit, and you have to find these clues. And in order to unlock doors, you have to find clues to escape. That's essentially it.
Yeah.
So this guy breaks in to an escape room, gets locked in an escape room, I'm assuming. Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, I'll read some details.
And can't get out. Okay.
2 local business owners received an early morning call from law enforcement Sunday after a burglar broke into their escape room and couldn't find his way out. Deputies with the Clark County Sheriff's Office say the suspect, which I love how in all these articles they put the suspects on blast. Like they got their picture here, they got their name.
I know.
The suspect, identified as Rye Wardlaw, damaged the escape room and couldn't escape, so he called police for help. Rob Bertrand and his wife Tamara, the owners of the escape room, it's just like such a weirdly worded sentence. It just says, the owners of the escape room, which is located in a strip mall. Like non-essential details here. Okay, so while in the escape room, participants are locked in a room together, must find clues, solve puzzles, compete against the clock. So pretty much what you already said. So the 2 owners of the escape room said that this burglar did so much damage to the back exit door of the escape room, and he couldn't open it to run away. A quote from them here. He apparently didn't know how to use the lock on the front door and was stuck. So he called 911. And he told law enforcement he was calling from the escape room because his home was being burglarized. What? So he calls the police and tells them, like, help, my home's being burglarized.
So come to this escape room.
Yeah. Which, if I'm the police, I'm like, what? What is this guy trying to pull here?
Okay.
So the deputies called the owners, and the guy says, I woke my wife up, and I was like, we got to get up. We got things going down. Which is like a great quote from the owner here.
Yeah.
So he goes on to say, the burglar opened a door, pushed over lockers, destroyed flowers, and he came in and made himself at home. So I guess the burglar was like, oh, I'm stuck here. I might as well just chill.
What's this guy breaking in for? Is he just going
I
to
guess
like
maybe he
loot and
thought
just
it was
vandalize stuff? Because it doesn't look like he's like what would you take in an escape room? You know what I mean? Maybe if there's money in a cash register, but that's like really it. And even then, there's probably not.
But I'm wondering, how did he even get in if he got himself like locked in the escape room itself?
The thing is,
right?
by the sounds of it, I don't think he got locked in a escape room. I think he got locked in the whole complex. But
Maybe.
Again, how did he get in? Let's keep reading. Maybe we'll find out.
So, deputies say the burglar ran into trouble when he tried to escape, and he broke the back doorknob, panicked, and called 911 several times. So this guy, he was getting worried. He was sweating. He's like, oh man, I can't escape the escape room.
Yeah.
So he called several times. And then there's a quote here from the owner. It says, I feel violated. We're a small business. We put our heart, soul, and money into this place to make it work. Our goal is to bring fun to families and businesses. It doesn't feel good to get taken advantage of. So the burglar provided a fake address to deputies. So they responded to the escape room where he was calling from. Oh, I see. So he called them. It gave them a fake address? How does that work? Don't they get your location when you're calling 911?
I don't think they have like trackers. They don't have like a cell phone tracker.
Yeah, but wouldn't they get like a rough area of your location from like cell tower triangulation? That's what I thought.
I don't think so.
So if we're here in Ontario,
Yeah.
right, like, let's say in the GTA, and I called and I'm like, 911, I need help in Muskoka. They're going to come help me in Muskoka?
They're gonna say like, where are you located? What's your address?
And I just, I'm looking on Google Maps before I call them. Just pranking them. Just a prank, bro. Just a prank.
I don't know.
I don't know. This whole story seems bizarre. That's why we should read the articles ahead of time. But sometimes I like to leave a little bit of the mystery and excitement so I learn along with the listeners.
You know what we are learning as we read these articles on the ScruffCast is a lot of them are written very poorly and like actually don't have any information in there.
Yeah,
There's
just
like
drag it out.
questions we have as we go along, and none of them even get close to being answered. You know?
Yeah.
Why was this guy in there? And then and it says here too, deputies say by the time they got to the strip mall, Wardlaw made his way outside. So he ended up escaping.
Yeah. But I tell you what, if I was the owners of this escape room...
But he did get caught in the end. But
Yeah,
they don't
but
say
like-
how he got caught. Did he just go outside and then wait for the cops to show up?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I feel like we should come up with a system where, like, the ScruffCast rates the quality of the articles.
We should probably just do that before we even
Maybe.
air them on the ScruffCast.
Listeners, if you have an idea for us to better rate the quality of these articles, because, like, we're bringing you turds, and we're putting frosting on the top and making them look like cupcakes for you guys. Because some of these articles are pretty bad.
But at the end of the day, they're just turd cupcakes.
Yeah, exactly.
They're still not going to taste very
You take a bite. It tastes like shit. All right, well, anyways. I just thought it was ridiculous that this guy broke into an escape room and then couldn't escape.
And then got,
because
it's
if
like
I
the
was,
whole point of an escape room is to make it hard to escape.
Yeah, if I was the people who ran this place, like, that'd be part of my advertising.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
so good that even burglars can't escape.
Yeah.
Yeah. How? But there's just so many questions.
Yeah, his bail set at $40,000.
So he was caught.
So, like, yeah, what did he...
How was he caught? Because they say, you know, he by the time that they got there, he made his way outside. So he's already escaped. So did he wait for the cops to show up? You know?
I guess he called several times. He was really worried about it. Because he was stuck.
This makes no sense.
Like, the whole point of the article is he was trapped inside and couldn't get out, and then there's just one sentence. By the time they got there, he made his way out. It's like, how the hell did he do that?
Yeah. And then his bail was set at $40,000. So they caught him. So he made his way outside. Did he... Like, yeah, did he wait for them? Just wait for the cops? Why do you have to call him 7 times? Why did he give a fake address?
But then,
All this
like,
stuff,
they
you
showed
know
up
what I
and he
mean?
told them this home was being burglarized.
He
None
provided,
of
hold
this-
on,
none of this makes any damn sense.
Let's reread this a little bit. He provided a fake address to deputies, so they responded to the escape room where he was calling from. So maybe you're right. Maybe they do have like trackers.
Yeah.
So he gave fake address, but they still responded to where he was calling from. All right.
And then they proceeded to call the owners, the police. Called the owners.
All right. Well, why don't we just move along here?
right.
We're not off to a good start here.
That's all right. Speaking of people calling the police, CBS News tells us, woman fired for calling police on black man wearing socks in pool.
So
it seems
hold
like
on.
every week we've got a story like this.
So this could be like almost a new segment in itself, right? White woman calls police on black person.
Yeah.
You know?
One time it was
tail.
Mr. Reggie mowing the lawn. Another time it was the real estate guy.
We'll think of like a clever segment title for it, right?
Yeah.
I can't think of it right now off the top of my head, but
Listeners, hit us up.
yeah. The whole premise is white person calls cops on black person for silly reason.
Yeah.
Give us a good title name.
At ScruffCast. ScruffCast@gmail.com.
All right. Hit it.
All right. A white Memphis woman was fired from her job. Oh, sorry. Yeah, a woman was fired for calling the police.
Yeah.
This time, not just a woman calling the police. A white Memphis woman was fired from her job at an apartment development after she was recorded calling the police on a black man who was wearing socks while swimming in a pool. Trilogy Residential Management said Erica Walker. Again, they just put the lady on blast. I love how the article is. Said Erica Walker, a manager at one of their properties, was terminated immediately after we completed our investigation. The company said Walker would never be employed by Trilogy Residential Management LLC or any of its properties in the future. So they gave her the old, see ya, wouldn't want to
They're
be
laying
here
down the
treatment.
law.
Yeah. We don't tolerate people calling the cops on people wearing socks in the pool here. So a woman named Camry Porter recorded the confrontation while she was at the pool area with her boyfriend and 2 godchildren on the 4th of July. So Porter claims Walker said her boyfriend needed to remove his socks or leave. And then this woman later posted a video of the incident on Facebook where it had over 1 million views. And she was like, well, I'm the property manager. And she pointed at the rules. The rules say proper pool attire. It doesn't specify what proper pool attire is.
Oh,
now,
come on.
Hard cut here.
Yeah.
Proper pool attire is not socks in a pool.
Yeah, you know what? This maybe isn't necessary to call the cops, but, dude, why are you wearing socks in the pool? You know, you see some people wear T-shirts in the pool, which is a little ridiculous, but it's a little more justified. Who wears socks in a pool?
Yeah, it's not even about, like, race or, like, breaking the rules or anything, like whether this is allowed or not. It's just, like, that's just bizarre.
Dude, why are you wearing socks in the pool for?
Like, if I'm wearing socks and I, like, walk through the kitchen and there's water on the floor and my sock gets wet,
I take the socks off.
There goes my whole day. My whole day's ruined.
Yeah. Oh, no, you can't have wet socks, man. This guy's just soaking his socks.
Maybe the laundry machine doesn't work at home.
Oh, you know what?
Like,
what's the motive here with the socks, bud? You know?
Maybe he's got, like, some like, fungus toe.
I was just thinking
hide.
that. And then get the hell out of the pool if you got the fungus feet, man.
Get away, old portobello toe.
Yeah, the socks isn't going to cover that.
Yeah, So that part is just bizarre.
Yeah,
right?
Super weird. Oh, yeah, this kind of bothers me too. Like, rules say proper pool attire. It doesn't specify what proper pool attire is. Like, stop trying to cut around the rules. Like,
yeah.
Come on.
So if I got into the pool wearing a tuxedo, would that be like? It doesn't say proper pool attire.
It doesn't say I can't wear a tuxedo. What's proper pool attire? Shut up. You know what proper pool attire is. It's goddamn swim shorts or a bathing suit for girls, you know?
Yeah.
Like, flip-flops even. Someone wearing flip-flops in the pool, you can understand it.
But socks. Like, at the time this event happened, this guy must have been one of only like half a dozen people in the entire country of the United States wearing socks in a pool.
In that time or just ever?
In that time.
Oh, I was thinking ever.
Ever? No.
This is so foolish.
It is so foolish. Ever, I would say the number is a little higher, like maybe a couple hundred people all the time.
Dumb people out there.
Anyway, so besides the absurdity of wearing the socks in the pool, obviously this was like another one of these like racially charged incidents, right? Where the woman kind of took it over the top, called the police, which is absurd, right? So, the woman who originally recorded the incident was her boyfriend who was wearing the socks. Said that the property manager told him hats were also prohibited from the pool, but didn't see her approach several white men who were wearing hats in the pool. In the video, the property manager says that hats are allowed if they're not dunked in the water.
Okay.
Which is like, that's fair. I see people wear hats in pools all the time.
Yeah.
I get it, though, that, maybe this was like racially charged. But, however, if a white person's wearing socks in the pool, you probably can't even tell where their legs begin and where the socks end, right?
Yeah.
So then the woman went on to say, everything happening in the nation now, and like now I'm a part of it. It hits home. Adding that she believes they were singled out because of their race.
It sounds like she just wants to be a victim. Oh my God, now I'm a part of this too.
But it wasn't even her wearing the socks. It was her boyfriend.
Yeah, I know. Okay, yeah, I know.
Right. So then she goes on to say, it does look funny.
Is she talking about her boyfriend wearing socks in the pool?
No, which is what you'd think it would be.
That probably would look funny.
It does look funny, she explained. It's 25, 30-plus white people out here, and you haven't said anything. You're partying with them, but when we come, it's an issue. And then when police arrived at the scene, this woman and her boyfriend decided to leave. You called the police on me. That could have went a whole other way. We've seen that, she told WREG-TV.
Yeah, she's right.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
But it's just the whole sock in the pool factor is like...
I can't get over
just
this.
throw me off, yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I understand this is like a racially charged thing probably, but, this woman's probably also wondering like, dude, why are you wearing socks in the pool for? I never have to deal with issues like this. Why you gotta be the guy wearing socks in the pool? Guy wears a hat in the pool, man. Like, please don't wear the hat, but it's a hat. Why are you wearing socks in the pool?
Yeah, I got nothing to say.
No reason.
It's ridiculous.
You go to the beach? Do you wear socks at the beach? Do you wear socks anywhere around where you go swimming?
No.
Because when you get out, you don't... try putting socks on when your feet are wet. It's impossible. Your feet are a little damp.
Just the thought of it
too
is
hard.
It's making my feet cringe a little over
just
here.
Wearing the damn socks in the pool is getting me so mad. Because I hate wet socks.
If I was elected president, that'd be like my first executive order.
Boom, no socks in the pool.
Socks in the pool is a felony now. Regardless, it doesn't matter.
Now
like, race,
you can call the cops.
Yeah, race, age, none of that matters. You put your 2-year-old in the splash pad, he's got socks on. Whoop!
Take those goddamn socks off. And if you got a fungus you're trying to cover up, definitely don't go in the pool, please.
Yeah, because it's
Don't
like
be a jerk.
It's an unwritten rule on the sign: no fungus in the pool.
Yeah, that one doesn't need to be
No
on the sign
fungus
either.
among us, please. Yeah, that's what they say.
Proper pool attire. I'll show you proper pool attire, lady.
Yeah, I like how she's like trying to pass it off. Like, it doesn't say what proper pool attire is.
Yeah, you know what? It's just
we all know. We all know.
Yeah,
that socks
she's just trying to like
not allowed.
she's trying to pull a quick one. Like, it sounds like super like teenagerish, like someone in high school.
Yeah,
does it not? Like kind of like I don't know.
Well,
I can't really think
like
of what
you
I'm
didn't
trying to say.
say.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that we weren't allowed to wear socks.
When like
in the
you know
pool.
damn well
Yeah.
what you should be doing.
Yeah.
It's just one of those situations, right? Well, proper pool. How am I supposed to know socks aren't proper pool attire? Because everyone in the world knows that. Even all those women in Asia, like the more Indian countries.
Yeah.
When they're all wearing their full gear going on,
Yeah.
just showing their eyes. Even they're not wearing socks in the pool. Even they're taking their damn socks off.
Yeah. There was this whole kerfuffle like late last year because I think the thing they wear is called like a burqa or something like that.
Yeah.
Because
I think that's what covers the face anyway.
Yeah, because I remember there was this whole kerfuffle because there was the burkini, which was a bikini but with like the burqa.
For them, or
Up
just
top.
like people were just randomly wearing it?
I think people were wearing it, but it was like also for them. I'm not 100% sure. Like, so it's bad enough with our facts when we have articles to support us. This is just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But I do remember that there was a whole big like issue about it.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this, they weren't wearing socks.
Not wearing socks.
So you are correct.
All right. We're back on track here. I'm feeling good.
Yeah. Nothing gets a ScruffCast back on track like complaining about people. That's what we're all here for. But you know what? It's not all just complaints, because this next article, I got to really hand it to this guy. He's living the dream.
All right.
So, this article comes to us from Australia, but it's about a man in Spain, so take that for what you will. Spanish civil servant skipped work for a decade.
I am so interested to hear how he managed to pull this off.
This man is a true hero. If the ScruffCast gave out, like, medals of honor...
This guy gets the first one.
He'd get the first one. So,
Okay, let's hear it.
a civil servant has been handed a 9-year ban from public posts after it emerged he had been absent from his €50,000 a year job for more than a decade.
That's pretty good pay. €50,000?
Yeah,
Solid.
definitely.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So, every weekday morning, Carlos Orecchio, an archives director at Valencia's provincial government, would turn up at his office only to clock in and then head straight out again before coming back at 4 to clock out. So this man, he had it down to a science.
So he walked in, clocked in, left.
Yeah, he
Came
did
back at 4, clocked out.
Yeah, he did the walk-in, clock-in.
Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah, let's keep reading here.
So, it was a routine he managed to maintain for 10 years. 10 years. Until last summer, when after colleagues began to raise suspicions, he was finally fired.
It took them 10 years to raise suspicion that
Honestly,
Carlos sitting next door to him isn't sitting at his desk?
Honestly,
sitting in his cubicle?
if it took 10 years for the coworkers to discover this, I would keep this guy because he knows what he's doing to get away with it for so long, and fire everybody else who didn't notice for 10
yeah,
years.
Seriously. You idiots.
Yeah. Like, honestly.
How not
do they go
aware
10
are
years?
you of...
How do they go 10 years without noticing?
Like,
And this guy's been pulling off for 10 years. Is it just the dumbassery of his coworkers is the only reason he's getting away with this?
you couldn't pull this off for a week if you tried. You know what I mean?
No.
Okay.
No, definitely not.
Maybe we get some more answers here.
So it was a routine he managed to maintain for 10 years until last summer after his colleagues found out, and then he was finally fired. To the anger of local authorities, an attempt to prosecute him was shelved by state attorneys who considered that his chronic absence did not constitute a crime.
I think that's fair.
However, a tribunal in Valencia has now delivered the 9-year suspension over what it said was, in quotes here, a flagrant neglect of the essential duties inherent to the work post. I could see how you could make that case. not being at the work post for 10 years
Well,
is
yeah.
a flagrant neglect of essential duties inherent to the work post.
Definitely.
So Mr. Recchio's repeatedly claimed that he was not to blame for his absence.
Oh, how are you going to get out of this one, man?
So he says, I do documentation work out of the office, the work of a slave.
Oh.
He told Spanish television channel La Sexta, which is a great name for a television channel. Working like a slave means that I work so that others get the fruit of my labor.
Okay.
Is what he said. The Valencian Tribunal rejected that explanation, noting that investigations had failed to turn up any record of work he claimed to have done over the decade-long period. So, like, did this man have no boss? Did he have nobody he had to report to or do anything for?
That's the thing, right?
So he says, like, I'm doing this slave work for 10 years, and then they do an investigation,
Yeah.
and they're like, hang on. There's no work for the last 10 years.
You've done nothing for
Yeah.
10 years.
So they did this investigation, didn't turn up any record of work he claimed to have done over the 10 years. Neither did it find any evidence for his claim he had told his superiors he had been left without a desk following an earlier relocation of his offices. So they relocated his office. So they must have like given his old desk to somebody else and he had no desk. So this man was like committed to this.
So he was just able to be
He
like,
didn't
hey,
even
you
have a
know
desk.
what?
Yeah.
They forgot to give me a desk. I'm just not going to come. All the desks will be full.
Yeah.
People will think everything's just status quo.
They're not even going to
They'll
notice
see
somebody.
my face in the morning and they'll see it in the afternoon. They'll just think I'm somewhere else.
They're not even going to notice somebody's missing because
Oh.
he has no desk to sit down. And he's never going to say, hey, I don't have a desk until he got fired.
This guy's
after
a
the fact.
genius.
Yeah. So he had no desk after the relocation of the offices. The tribunal had strong criticism for the provincial government, which it said had failed to properly supervise the assignment of workspaces.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Recchio then, and this is in quotes, became comfortable in the situation that benefited him, it said in its verdict. Mr. Recchio's absence would have been impossible, in quotes here, without the acquiescence or the disinterest of the administration for which he worked.
Yeah, that's
all the
thing,
details
right?
here. But we just gotta like break it down.
Yeah, because the fact that this guy's like getting away with this is one thing. Like, no, sorry, the fact that he's doing it is one thing. But it's the fact that like he got away with it. Like, nobody's questioning what he's doing.
For 10 years.
No boss, no supervisor, nothing.
No.
That's almost. I think that's worse than him actually just
Oh,
not
yeah.
showing up for.
Oh, yeah.
10 years.
I'd be firing everybody else who didn't notice for 10 years.
What I'm curious about is what did he do between 9 to 4 or 8 to 4 every day?
Living the dream. Maybe he's
What did he
golfing,
do?
he's living in Spain. Maybe he's going to the beach.
Yeah, go to the
Every
beach
day?
every single day. Ah, well, why not, right?
Dude, it's like you're retired,
Yeah, I guess.
but not really. You just like, it's less maintenance than owning a dog.
Yeah, I
You
bet
don't even have to feed it certain times a day. You go in the morning, and then you come back at 4 o'clock.
I wonder how many times this guy called in sick every year.
That's what I was going to say. I wonder if he's
Did
using...
he take vacation time?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I wonder if he's using vacation days to avoid the trip. The trip in the morning and in the end of the day.
That's what I was about to say. Do you ever think he got up everyone's like, God, I gotta get into the office. Do you ever think he had that thought?
He
Or
probably
was he just
did.
like, oh yeah, I'll just hop in there for 5 minutes, grab myself a coffee, and I'm just gonna head out.
I imagine it, maybe over the course of 10 years, those days probably did happen, but you're just living stress-free. Thinking like, Like,
Or was he super stressed trying to keep this charade up,
but like 10 years is a long time. Like, it's a whole lifetime. Right? Like, I think of you 10 years ago. Think of all that time since now. You've been like set in this new lifestyle. Go in at 9, clock in, then just go on about your day. Do whatever you want, then go back at 4 o'clock.
I suppose, too, after like a year, you'd probably feel pretty comfortable with the situation. Like, you know what? I'm good. I'm in the clear. I've got this down perfectly.
Yeah.
I don't got to worry about anything anymore. No one's going to catch me. Been doing this for a year already. Boom, the guy puts in 9 more years after that. Incredible.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, was he still showing up for like the office Christmas party? Oh, Carlos, how's it going?
Probably.
Working on those things. What
Those
they
things
say.
we work on here,
You know what they say? Another day, another one of those things. And they're like, I hear ya. Who wants some tequila?
Yeah, that's it. Wow.
Like the cojones on this guy.
Just an incredible
Like,
story.
another thing I think is interesting is, how did it start? He has a bad day, and he's like, screw this.
Yeah,
I'm
he
done.
was really pissed that his desk
Yeah.
got moved. You kidding me?
No, because he did this before his desk even got moved.
Oh.
According to the article, from what I read.
Wow, okay.
Hang on, let me go back and find the quote here. He said, the investigation, it didn't find any evidence for his claim he had told his superiors he had been left without a desk following an earlier relocation of his offices. Oh, so maybe it was when the desk got moved.
Either way.
But then he also does this thing of, I do documentation work, blah, blah, blah. The work of a slave, all that.
I don't understand.
If he's documenting stuff, wouldn't there be people who need to read it?
Yeah, exactly. This guy should have just owned it. I don't know why he's trying to make excuses in the end, though. You know what I mean? After 10 years, I'd just be like, hey, you know what? You got me.
Like this is pretty admirable.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Why is he got to come and make excuses? Like, I've been working like a slave for you guys for 10 years. And they're like,
That's why I
You
couldn't
haven't
be
done
here.
nothing.
And then you left me with no desk.
Yeah.
Like he must have had a bad day one day, and he's like, that's it. No desk. I'm leaving.
Yeah, I can't.
Like how many days in a row? Like that first day, he clocked in and he's like, I'm going home. Screw this crap. He's probably like, if they fire me, they fire me. Whatever. I'm done. Then he shows up at the end of the day to clock out, and he's like looking around. Okay, coast is clear. Then he's like, that worked. Does it the next day. And then he's just doing it for a couple days, and then it's weeks, and then it's months.
Yeah.
And then now
pushed it a little further.
And then now he's just like locked in. Yeah. And like
maybe he leaves for a 1 hour lunch to start it, real small. Then it's a 2 hour lunch.
Yeah.
Then it's a 3 hour lunch. And then he's like, man, maybe I can go a little further. Crazy.
Yeah, like nobody noticed this guy's absence.
Idiots.
No boss. No no meetings. Well, that's government for you.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I wonder how many people are out there in the same scenario right now. Then they read this article and they're like, oh man, they're catching on to our tricks. Yeah, like, I wonder if he's on like a private Facebook group where they message each other about their techniques. Right?
Yeah, seriously.
The whole thing is just insane.
It is.
I gotta hand it to this guy. Like, deep down, I'm jealous. I wish I could do this.
Oh, yeah.
10 years. Like, a whole decade. Insane. All right. On to the next one.
Yeah, this is
so
one of my favorites.
Speaking of things that are insane here. From ABC News, this is another article that takes place in Australia here. Or, well, the article is written for an Australian news site, but... man sues wife for negligence after jumping from their Mercedes-Benz.
Now, let's get it straight here. The wife did not jump out of the car.
No, the wife was driving, which I could see could give the man a scare. So the wife was driving, and the man jumped out.
And then he sues her. All right, let's see how this unfolds.
A man who is catastrophically injured after he jumped from a moving vehicle has sued the driver, his wife, for negligence, claiming she failed to apply the brakes after seeing he was about to jump.
Oh, Jesus.
Which is like, oh, man. This guy's also jumping to conclusions.
Okay. That's enough. That's enough from you.
So Brian Lim took his case to the NSW District Court, and in a hearing in November last year, claimed his injuries would not have been as severe had Young Kyung Cho, his wife, slammed her foot on the brakes of their Mercedes-Benz. The court heard Mr. Lim and Miss Cho and their 2 children, aged 4 and 2, had been out to dinner at a barbecue restaurant in Belmore in December 2012. Which, well, this is like a digging up old wounds here. When they began to argue after Mr. Lim spoke with an acquaintance. The argument continued on the drive home when Miss Cho made a disparaging remark about his parents, and then he told her he wants a divorce. So they were obviously in a big fight here.
Yeah.
As the car traveled along Barker Road in Strathfield, Mr. Lim opened the passenger door, and Miss Cho reached across to grab him before he jumped. So that right there goes to show you that she could tell he was about to jump. Not that I think his negligence claim is, any valid, but... So police and ambulance attended the scene, and the court heard Mr. Lim was left with catastrophic injuries and was, in quotes here, under legal incapacity.
Okay.
After hearing evidence from engineering experts with expertise in the biomechanics of traffic accident trauma, the judge found that Ms. Cho had been driving at about 50 kilometers an hour at the time of the incident.
Which is not very fast.
But pretty fast to jump out of a car.
Yeah, absolutely. But she was probably not speeding anywhere, yeah.
So she was driving 50 kilometers an hour at the time of the incident, and that emergency braking could have caused injury to her, in quotes here, 2 very young children in the car and to other road users.
Very true.
The kids were in the car at this time.
Okay, but let's back up a second here. I don't think experts, in biomechanics or anything like that were even necessary in this whole case.
No, probably
The guy jumped out of the car.
Yeah.
It's his own fault. The fact that she even tried to reach to grab him is that is a very nice thing for her to do, because if I'm in that
She
situation,
doesn't want him to get hurt.
Jump. You want a divorce? Why don't you just jump out of the car too? Go ahead.
Yeah.
That's all. Go ahead.
So the judge found that while Miss Cho had a duty of care to ensure Mr. Lim's safety while in the car, that duty did not extend to protecting him from harm he had caused to himself, which he described as, in quotes here, entirely out of character. The vehicle was, at the time the incident occurred, close to home, the judge said, adding that a reasonable person would not have jumped from a car traveling at that speed.
That's a fact.
Yeah, it doesn't take a judge to know that
No.
one. A reasonable person.
I'm surprised this case was even heard at all. I'm surprised it just wasn't thrown out
If I'm
instantly.
the judge, I'm like, why are you wasting my time?
Yeah, what a waste of my time.
Some people are out there not having to work at all for 10 years. This judge just has to waste his time listening to this crap.
This is the real slave work.
So he said that if Miss Cho had applied the brakes, there was no reason to believe that Mr. Lim's injuries would have been less severe. He also found that Mr. Lim was guilty of contributory negligence and that any damages owed to him would be reduced by 100%, aka nothing.
Yeah.
Mr. Lim appealed the decision. Man, the ball's on this guy.
I know, eh?
Jumps out of the car and then tries
Lim.
to sue his wife, and then the judge turns it down, and then he appeals it.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. It was all her fault. So he appealed the decision. However, it agreed unanimously, the Court of Appeals, with the judge's ruling, right, that the guy wasn't entitled to anything. In a judgment handed down, the acting justice said the case was both unusual and tragic. There was no evidence that she had any inkling prior to him opening the door of the vehicle that he would do something as dangerous as leaping from a moving vehicle. Not surprisingly, at first she did not grasp that he would act as recklessly as he did. Her actions in a sudden crisis not of her own making were not unreasonable in the circumstances she faced. So her actions seemed to be just she just kept driving. Now, it doesn't give any other details about the incident here. So, did she slam the brakes right after? Or, was she so mad, she's like, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya. And the kids,
maybe.
The kids are like, Dad jumped out of the car.
Yeah, whatever, he'll find his way home.
Yeah.
I would assume she probably stopped the car afterwards, right? But
Just
what are you doing, man?
The nerve of the guy to sue.
Yeah,
He jumps at
right from the start. So you're like, I want a divorce, and maybe she says, no, I don't want one. We can work it out. Or she says, fine, I want one too. And he just goes, yeah! Jumps out of the
straight
car.
out.
What was the point of that?
Did he already have in mind he wanted to sue?
He
was catastrophically injured.
I can see if she was the one who said I want a divorce, and he kind of went a little suicidal, jumped out of the car.
Well, it says she made some disparaging remark about his parents. So
yeah.
She's like, I can't stand your mom. She's such a bitch. And he goes, that's it.
Low
We're
blow,
over.
lady. Low blow.
And he jumps out of the car.
Yeah. We're over.
Yeah, he pulls the ripcord.
Yeah.
Straight out.
No, Mr. Lim. She just drives off. No.
I'll never forget you.
Never forget you.
Yeah. And then he tries to sue. It's ridiculous. Imagine you're the guy's lawyer, and he comes to you, and he's like, all right.
Who's the lawyer who took this case?
Yeah, I know. He comes to you, and he's, hobbling on crutches. He's all beat up, right, because he jumped out of the car. And he's like, all right, hear me out. I'm going to sue my soon-to-be ex-wife. And they're like, oh, no, what'd she do? Did she, beat you or something? You look pretty beat up. And he's like, no, I jumped out of the car.
While she was driving.
And she didn't stop me in time.
You know what?
If I'm the lawyer, I'm like, man, you better pay me up front. We're not winning this one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm okay, you're being charged by the hour. It's none of this, radio commercial we only get paid when you get paid. None of that. I'm getting paid every single hour I work.
None of this hurt in a car. Call William Attar because he was hurt outside the car.
Exactly.
So it doesn't apply.
No, Mr. Lim.
The whole thing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the kids were in the car at the same time too.
Yeah, 2 and 4 years old.
So he must have been fired up. Like really fired up.
What did she say about his parents? I'd love to hear Mr. Lim's side of the story.
I know. Oh man, I wonder if there's a follow-up.
Yeah.
She must have said something terrible. Or like this guy was on the edge just ready to snap.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
And maybe he was like so angry. He's like, I'm so mad I'm going to hit her. And so instead he just jumped out of the car to save himself from doing that.
Maybe.
Which still he'd be a psycho, but
at what point did he probably go, "Oh no, this was a bad idea"? Was it when the door was open?
Probably like
and
as he's
flying out in
falling
the air?
out, like
While he's tumbling down in slow motion. I
probably
can only
first
imagine.
smack on the ground, because in his mind he's probably like, you know what? I watched enough Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan films. I could just roll, roll out,
tuck and roll.
Fing, foo, 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 foo. Laying right back on my feet. Walk the rest of the way home.
Yeah.
I've jumped out of a golf cart going like 1 kilometer an hour, and I've fallen. It's tough. It's tough to hop out of a moving vehicle. I can only imagine 50 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to be real
Mr.
limber.
No.
I have it on good authority that the listeners love my puns.
No.
Yep.
I don't think so.
We've gotten several emails that I couldn't read because they were just, too praising of me, and I didn't want to make you jealous. But they talked about that they especially appreciate when we have puns in the episode.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure.
It's true.
Maybe some more people can email in.
ScruffCast@gmail.com.
Do you like John's puns, or do you not like them? Let us know.
Let us know. Follow us on Twitter. Maybe we could do a Twitter poll if you people would actually follow us.
Yeah. We'll do that.
If you're listening on YouTube right now, click that thumb up. Give a thumb up. Every one thumb up is one prayer for Mr. Lim and his recovery. Do you want Mr. Lim to be all injured? What kind of monsters are you? All right. On to the next story. Dan was almost going to give us a bad transition there.
Yeah.
Speaking of transitions.
Yeah. Let's go ahead.
Speaking of transitions, there was a bit of a uproar recently because Scarlett Johansson was given the role in a film where she was going to play a transgendered man, like a man who's transitioning into a woman, in a film called Rub and Tug, which is about pretty much what you think.
No, it's about a...
What?
No, as far as I know, it's about a notorious like transgender gangster, like from like back in like the early like 20s and 30s or something like that.
I thought it was about someone running some Rub and Tug.
No. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I gotta do some more research.
Read it, because I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere.
All right, so
maybe I'm way wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea because these two things are not alike at all.
Yeah.
So this movie, Rub and Tug, who knows what it's about? Maybe it's this gangster thing. Maybe it's about Rub and Tug. I don't know. But Scarlett Johansson was offered the role of a man who's transitioning into a woman. And then the internet was all over her. Specifically because, she's not transgendered. Why is she playing the role of a transgender person?
And there's transgendered actors and actresses out there.
Yes. So, after drawing intense criticism for accepting a role in the movie Rub and Tug, by the same person who directed a recent movie, Ghost in the Shell, that she did as well, where she also got criticism for playing a
robot?
No, it should have been an Asian actor.
Oh, it was like
actress.
already a thing. Oh my god!
Right, but Scarlett Johansson, she's not Asian, so she already got backlash over that. So it's the same director who was directing this movie, Rub and Tug. Scarlett Johansson was given the role, and then the internet was all over her. And then she actually put out a statement that said, like, "Oh, well, if you got a problem, like, you should ask these other people," and then named a couple different people who also play like transgendered.
Yeah.
Movies. One of them being like Jeffrey Tambor, who plays in in this TV show Transparent, and I think he's actually won like an Emmy or Golden Globe for his acting in the show.
And then he got fired.
He got fired.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was. He was.
He was taken down. Another one bites the dust.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeffrey Tambor, where'd you go wrong?
All right.
So, the internet was all over her, and then she put out this statement saying, like, ask them about this, blah blah blah, and then now she's withdrawn.
Backtracked a little bit.
Yeah, backtrack. So she says, I have great admiration and love for the trans community and am grateful that the conversation regarding inclusivity in Hollywood continues, she said. While I would have loved the opportunity to bring Dante's story and transition to life, I understand why many feel he should be portrayed by a transgender person. And I am thankful that this casting debate, albeit controversial, has sparked a larger conversation about diversity and representation in film. So she did a total 180.
But that's a good statement.
It's well written.
Yeah.
But it's a total 180 from, like, in the first statement she put out, like, she was all defensive.
She was defending her right to do the movie, and now...
She still totally had the right to do the movie.
Yeah,
it was just the internet backlash machines trying to take her down, because they're like, you can't do this! You know, what about the transgender actors?
Exactly, yeah.
All right, so, I have an article here about the original, like, statement she put out. So... It goes on. So the article goes on to, complain about how she had originally done the Ghost in the Shell thing, and then just kind of breaks down more of the backlash she was receiving. So it has a quote with her statement here. Tell them that, so speaking specifically to the people who are upset, tell them that they can be directed, their complaints can be directed to Jeffrey Tambor, Jared Leto, and Felicity Huffman's reps for comment. Yeah. So she's pretty snarky.
Yeah, Jared Leto won an Oscar.
Yeah. There you go. Nobody was complaining because we hadn't hit 2018 yet, which is like, peak wokeness we got now going on, right? This is 2018. I got like my parents listening to like, what the hell's woke?
I'm not even sure what that means.
So, this article goes on to say, that pretty much even though she had originally defended her position by pointing out that other cisgender actors had played trans people. And cisgender, for people out there, means somebody who's non-transgendered.
Yeah.
Right? So it says, her statement makes clear she's had a change of heart. Among those who had been critical of her decision was transgender actress Trace Lysette, who I've never heard of, who actually worked on Amazon's show Transparent with Jeffrey Tambor.
Okay.
And she wrote, or a quote from this other transgender actress herself said, I wouldn't be as upset if I was getting in the same rooms as Jennifer Lawrence and Scarlett Johansson for cis roles, but we know that's not the case. So that's an interesting quote right there, because it makes you think, I could see how another like transgendered actor would be upset, right? Because they're like, I have a hard enough time getting roles as it is because I'm transgendered.
Yeah. And then now the transgender roles are being taken by someone who's not transgendered.
Yes. So I completely understand.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like...
I don't understand how this is Scarlett Johansson's fault.
No, definitely not. Like, should she
this
just
is like
be
casting director's fault.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is it up to Scarlett Johansson to just be like, oh no, I cannot take this role. It would be, like terrible for me to do this. You should find, somebody who's transgender. Out of the kindness of my heart, I'd love to turn down this gigantic paycheck. And maybe, an interesting story I'd like to tell. Maybe she has an actual interest in this person whose story she's trying to tell.
You know what her statement should be? Sorry, bitches, gotta get paid.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, don't you remember Mark Wahlberg making all that extra money compared to that other woman last year?
Yeah.
I'm trying to make it right. Oh, so there's like the different levels of complaints, right? So the first level would be like, oh, Scarlett Johansson's not getting paid enough money for acting, right?
I know, eh?
And then I was like, oh, well, now she's getting paid too much compared to these transgender actors. It's like the totem pole, right? It's like, it doesn't matter where you are on the totem
top.
pole.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you are on the totem pole. You just want to like claw the people down who are like above.
It's almost like Me Too has been taken down a notch and replaced. Boom, the transgenders. Oh, pow, Now they're the ones. They're the most victim,
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like I've heard this term called the Oppression Olympics, which is like people competing to see who's the most oppressed.
Yeah.
Because it's like, of course, there's obviously different levels of stuff, right? Like of people being oppressed around the world and all, marginalized groups and all this and that and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's always like, oh, well, you think you're oppressed? What about me? I'm more oppressed. And it's like, why do you got to like take each other down? Right?
Yeah.
That's why they're like, you see like incidents where there was like the gay pride parade, I think like last year. And then people from like the Black Lives Matter movement showed up and like protested. And they're like, oh, complaining.
They didn't like that the cops were marching in the pride parade.
Yeah, which
that
like,
was the issue.
What does that have to do with anything?
No,
it's because they're like, oh, you think gay people are oppressed? Like, what about us?
Yeah.
Right? Or like, it would be the same thing if like,
let the gay people do their thing.
Yeah, it's like,
You guys want to have
shit sucks for everybody.
You guys want to have
right? Obviously on different levels and stuff, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you got to compete to be like, oh, we're more oppressed than these people.
But I was just reading, there was some pride parade going on a couple weeks ago, and I didn't really read too much up on it, but so at these pride parades, it's like bisexual people were being shunned away from pride, and transgenders, I think.
Because they weren't pride enough?
Oh, you're not. Yeah, you're not a lesbian
yes,
or
I
gay.
remember. I know what you're talking about. It was in.
Hell?
They did a pride parade in London.
Yeah.
Yes, and then so there's this whole thing of TERFs, TERF, which is trans exclusionary radical feminists or something, which is people who are feminists, but they're transgender are bringing feminists down. Now we should also say here, we're just going off the top of our head, so we obviously don't know all the facts. The ScruffCast, we tackle tough topics, but not always gracefully. But so that was this group of these radical feminists were the ones kicking off the front of this pride parade. Okay.
Right? What are these feminists? Are they gay?
They could be. They could not be. I have no idea.
All right. Okay.
I have no idea. Right? I don't know.
They're just feminists.
Yeah. So, they're kind of they're feminists, and they're kind of these people. A lot of them probably are gay and fit in this LGBTQ community, but then they don't like the trans people. So it's they're in the community, but they're hey, you're out of the community, and it's
oh, okay.
It's their whole fighting in the community. It's
okay,
so it's oh, you're bringing You know what I mean?
the feminists are so feminist
that they're these
saying
people aren't.
That's a man turning into a woman.
Yes.
No, that's not right.
Exactly.
Something like that. Right?
Exactly.
That's still a man. Because they're so feminist.
Exactly. Where it's shouldn't we be on the same side? Shouldn't because then there's the whole argument these people are oh trans rights aren't women's rights, and it's then the trans people are why are we competing
Yeah.
If I'm a trans woman, shouldn't my rights be the same as your rights as a woman? You know what I mean? But then they just can't people can't help themselves from trying to tear each other down, even though they should be on the same side.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's we're all fighting for the same thing, but why are we fighting against each other?
Yeah.
They're all fighting just for equality, really. That's kind of it, right?
Yeah.
The gays want rights. Women want rights.
Yeah.
They're all fighting just for equality and rights, but then they're tackling each other on the way up, right?
Exactly.
Idiots.
Should be on the same side, but you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So there's so back to the original article, we brought up the whole Scarlett Johansson thing. She pulled out of the film, and then there's some stats here where it says that according to GLAAD, GLAAD, which I don't know what this organization stands for, but according to them, LGBTQ plus characters in film and TV and stuff dropped 40% in 2017 from the previous year, with no representation of trans characters in any major studio release. So, just reading the statement here, says no representation of trans characters. It doesn't say trans actors. Immediately goes to show this movie would be a representation of a trans character, right?
Yeah, it's a great chance to have that.
Exactly.
To bring it to light.
And they're tearing it down. Now, I understand the concerns of this fellow actress who's transgender and be I'm not competing with these people. I kind of get shunned away right away.
Yeah.
That's tough, right? I understand.
That sucks,
right?
Yeah. But also,
to bring yourself up, this, I don't think the solution is to tear people down. Because also, Scarlett Johansson is a big name. People have heard of her.
Yeah.
If this was some person who was, an actress I'd never heard of, whether transgender or not, and there's backlash, hey, get out of the film, we wouldn't even be talking about this.
No, wouldn't even.
Your story wouldn't be making the ScruffCast. That's big news when you make the ScruffCast.
It's interesting what you just said about how it says there's no representation of characters, transgenders, in any major show right now. But if I'm writing a TV show, let's say I write a TV show and it gets put on a major network. Yeah. If I don't want to write a transgender person in, why do I got to do that? Why,
you don't
why
have
do I have to?
Right? And then here's the thing.
You should totally be doing that. Shut up. I can do whatever I want. It's my goddamn TV show. I don't want to write a transgender
Here's the thing. If you shoehorned it in there, right? Then they'd be like,
oh, he's forcing it.
This representation of trans characters like
Isn't
not
good
true to
enough.
life or blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And that would probably be true because you wouldn't know what you're talking about because you're not a transgender person, so you wouldn't know how to realistically write a character like that, right? So on one hand, it's kind of like, well, maybe like transgender people should like try to put their own works out there, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, like, I understand, like, I completely understand the frustration of where this other actress is coming from, but it's tough, you know? But at the same time, it's like, just because you don't like something doesn't mean you have the right for them to change it, right? Like, hey, we don't like this, you should change it, right? Now, in this case, they got their way. They got their way. Scarlett Johansson pulled out. But, like, all you can do is just, like, boycott and be like, no, you know what? I don't support this. I'm not going to do it. But it just goes to show you, like, how times have changed, right? Like, think of, like, The Last Samurai, right? They'd be like, oh, you know, he's not Asian. Why is he in the film?
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes. Like, very complex, like, multi-layered issues, people trying to tear each other down.
Yeah, I've noticed, too, that's becoming, like a big thing. Like, there was a show on Netflix, or a movie on Netflix Jared Leto was in, that was, like, an Asian movie, and people were all up in arms because they got a white guy to play it.
Then don't give it a bad review and don't watch the movie.
Yeah,
That's all
you gotta do.
That's all you can do.
Just don't like the movie then. Who cares? They filmed the whole movie. They're not going to change it now.
Yeah, like, you want them to, like, do it in post?
Get over yourself.
Right? And then they're like, oh, they didn't even properly put the Asian guy in there. They did it in post-production. I can tell
they
it's still
just, like,
Jared Leto.
CGI Jared Leto's face. And
Yeah.
then, you know, they point the eyes out a little more.
Oh, jeez.
They tint his skin a little, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, you're getting into even more trouble there.
Yeah.
That's cultural appropriation.
Yeah, we covered this in another episode.
Oh, yeah, we know all about it.
Yeah, we cover all the topics. All right, well, I imagine you're going to have some feedback, so email us, scruffcast@gmail.com, or follow us on Twitter @scruffcast. I think that may do it for this episode, Dan.
I think so. You know what? I'm actually just trying to find out our original question of what this movie's about.
Oh, yes. That's a great question because we had two very conflicting thoughts.
Yeah.
You're saying something about gangsters.
I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere.
No, well, maybe. Just based on the name. I thought,
Yeah, thought it was something else.
yeah.
No.
Let's see. Scarlett Johansson withdrawn. Oh, that's the same article I was just reading.
Okay, well, you keep looking, and I'll tee up our question to ponder. Oh,
I think you're right here. It says, Scarlett Johansson has officially withdrawn from her role as transgender crime boss Dante Tex Gill in the upcoming film Rub and Tug.
there you go. I thought that's what it was.
Okay. It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Johansson's initial casting of the larger-than-life trans figure was met with some criticism, as many rightly pointed out that it would have been more appropriate for a trans male actor to portray Gill, a gangster who built a criminal empire via massage parlors in 1979 Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay, well, my
1970s
time
Pittsburgh.
range was way off, too, but...
Yes.
Okay, so we're
But
both
a little
right.
bit of rub and tug, a little bit of gangsters. Rub and thug.
Little bit of end of this podcast.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, Jesus, we've run really long on this one.
You listeners are so spoiled. We better get a thumb up
Oh, man.
on this one. If
is
you're
a
listening
long
on
one.
YouTube right now, hit that thumb up.
Hit the thumb up.
If you don't hit the thumb up, you have to turn the podcast off now because you're not allowed to hear the question upon it for next week.
And then you won't be able to answer, and that's no fun.
Yeah, exactly. I had a listener come up to me this past week crying because we didn't get enough emails answering our questions to ponder.
Whoa.
Yeah. Rough stuff.
Very.
All right.
So, our question to ponder for next week. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
If you... Oh, sorry.
Are you ready?
I guess I'm not. Okay. If you were given a choice between being given great wisdom or great wealth, which would you choose? Great wisdom or great wealth?
All right. Well, I got a little tidbit of wisdom for the listeners right here.
Okay.
Scruffcast@gmail.com with your answers to this question for next week.
Or tweet us. Tweet us your answer. Instagram us your answer.
Yeah,
ScruffCast all across the board.
If you're listening on YouTube, just Write it in a comment.
Write in a comment.
No context. You
We'll
don't
get
even
those
need to
emails
say,
too.
I would choose great wisdom because of this. I'd choose great wealth. You could just say great wisdom, great wealth. Just give us something.
It'd be great if you had an explanation as
Yeah,
well.
of course.
We'll take anything.
Of course, but
We're not picky here.
yeah, we're not picky.
Nope.
Just hit us up.
ScruffCast@gmail.com. All right. I think that's the end of episode 29.
I think so. This was a doozy.
Yeah. Maybe a snoozy for some people because it's so long.
Maybe the listeners didn't appreciate the longer episodes, though. I don't know.
I'm not
The
really
only way
sure.
we'll know is with your feedback, so hit us up and let us know.
Yeah, let us know if this is too long. I think it's too long. I feel like we've been talking for too long. My
falling
mouth
asleep
is
over here.
15 minutes more dry than it normally is, you know?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, that's the end of episode 29. Thanks for sticking with us through this extra long one. And we'll catch you next week.
Got me like, oh, as I'm watching her go. All I'm thinking is, oh, damn, that bad thing. I can tell you're really good at distracting.